How is everyone? Wonderful. I see some familiar faces, and I also see a lot of unfamiliar faces or new faces. If this is your first time in the church, raise your hand. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, welcome. Hi, we're the church. So we are a creative exhibition and community and creativity center. We do programs such as these. We also have exhibitions such as that. I truly invite you to come back and take in our exhibition during our exhibition hours, which is Thursday through Monday, 11 to 5. And also, as the program, oh, right. So if you've never been here, you don't know who I am. Hi, I'm Kristen Santori. I'm the programming manager here at the church. It's nice to meet you all. Thank you. I want to say thank you for coming out to this program tonight. This is the kick-off of our fall festival, so we have a lot of spooky season activities planned this weekend that we're all really excited about. And I also want to say thank you to LUCY Boyle for providing this play. I would also like to say thank you to Hugh King, who is here, who's going to give us a little bit of background about Goody Garlick, which is really exciting. And I also want to thank the incredible actors who are also joining us up on stage, as well as the director, SHERYL Kallerer. So I'm going to invite them to come on up this way so they can take their seats. And I just want to say thank you again for coming here. And before I turn this microphone over to Mr. Hugh King, who's going to go over Goody Garlick, I would just like to say one important thing, actually. Is it's a very important season, and also in addition to spooky season. Please go out and vote. Thank you. Mr. King?
I would like to thank Lucy and her cast for bringing my wife, Loretta's words, out in the public, and I'd like to thank the church, of course, for putting this up. Okay, when you hear the term witch hunt, ignore it. Okay, if somebody tells you they're a victim of a witch hunt, ignore them. They have no idea what they're talking about. You want to know what a witch hunt involved? How about invasive body searches, torture, loss of property, losing limbs, dunking, expelled from town, paraded naked through the town, cutting of hair, blackening of the face, cutting off the nose, pulling of the teeth, gouging out the eyes, rape, consumption of human excrement, buried alive, and those two great staples of the witchcraft hysteria, hanging and burning at the stake. That's what a witchcraft hunt involved. Anybody who uses that term today is doing a terrible disservice to the many women who were involved in this. Most of them were women. Many of them were healers, like Goody Garlick. They were either unmarried or widowed, they had no children, and they usually had more land than anybody thought they could have. Okay? Now, since we're in the church, I'd like to tell you what Loretta wrote about the church and how they fostered this hysteria. Okay? You know who Loretta was, don't you? Loretta Orion was my wife. She wrote this book. You can buy it if you want to, but you don't have to, unless you want to pay for parking. Okay, the world deserved chaos. It's exactly what humans deserve because Adam had destroyed the original perfection of the world. Because of Adam's sin, the world and its human inhabitants became so hopelessly corrupt and depraved that they were incapable of redeeming themselves or nature by their own efforts. To make matters worse, God allowed Satan to have his way in the sinful world. Satan worked diligently with the help of witches to disrupt the precarious order of the world. With the religious reformations and progress in the 17th century, each of the contending churches and sects were worried about the power of Satan behind their adversaries. The fact that God maintained order from moment to moment was testament for God's loving for deserving sinners. John Calvin thought that was reassuring proof of God's reliability. Puritans were supposed to see God's reliability, but not all could. Although all humans deserved eternal damnation in hell, here it comes. God in his mercy had decided to forgive a select few. These, despite their sinful natures, were predestined for eternal life with him after death. The rest would reap their deserved eternal punishment in hell. Now, God made this selection before he created the world, and he would not change his mind. Because humans were incapable of understanding God's will, it was impossible to know who was among the select. With so much at stake, the Puritans always were on the lookout for clues. The world was pregnant with supernatural meaning and signs of God's intention. Any unusual event, lightning, hailstorms, even the appearance of a very large cabbage in the garden, could be a sign of God's approval or anger, usually the latter. Though it was impious to presume to interpret these signs of God's intention, Puritans recorded them and pondered their significance in their diaries. Now, here it comes. In many places throughout the world, people believe that some extraordinary individuals, witches, had an inherent supernatural capacity to harm others than normal people or good people. This may be because the belief is useful. Here it is. It explains the cause of misfortune, and at the same time, it absolves the accuser of personal responsibility. Sound familiar? It justifies contempt for the witch and the adoption of the most extreme measures to be rid of them, including murder. A person accused of being a witch was the incarnation of evil, a useful foe against which the righteous defend their own goodness. The witch acquired the hideous features of the accusers, projected fear and disgust. So that's what was going on in the world. Now, the people in East Hampton may have not been adamant in believing what was going on, but they weren't immune to it either. So, in the 1650s, East Hampton was roiling with controversies. Between 1650 and 1656, there were 34 court cases. And his men redressed these grievances with that good old staple of East Hampton history, the lawsuit, okay? In the year 1656, preceding the Goody Garlick case, 15 cases came before the magistrates. That's one case for every 12 people in East Hampton. Now, what were these cases about? This comes from the town records, okay? How about trespass, slander, damage to crops, overcharging, and business transactions? And how about the petticoat case? Mrs. Edwards and Mrs. Price argued over a petticoat, whether it came from England or not. What did their husbands do? They sued. How about this one? A servant was accused of standing behind Mrs. Gardner and making bow-wow noises. Daniel Fairfield, who was a servant to the Gardners, was accused not only of attempting to seduce the maid of Thomas Reverend James, but also his daughter. And then finally, our all-time favorite, 4 men were accused of being notorious masturbators. All right, kids, hold your ears. Hold your ears. And one of them was named Hand. Hold your ears one more time, guys. And we think he got off. Now, wait a minute. See, there you go. The reason I'm saying this is because 2 of them we know were whipped, and one of them was put in the stock, but the Hand boy, his father, was one of the magistrates. So we don't know what happened to him. That's what I meant by that, Lucy. Okay? Okay. So now I'm done. I'm going to just introduce to the people who you're going to meet tonight. You're going to meet Elizabeth Howell. Elizabeth Howell was the daughter of Lyon Gardner. She married Arthur Howell, who was one of the founders of Southampton. Lyon Gardner, of course, was one of the 2 most important people in the town of East Hampton, along with the Reverend James. His wife was Mary Gardner. He met her in the Netherlands, and she was Dutch. Samuel Parsons and William Russell were friends of Arthur Howell. And Goody Vale was a neighbor. And then Joshua Garlick and Elizabeth Garlick were servants. They worked for Lyon Gardner on Gardner's Island, and they had just moved to East Hampton. So let's see what Lucy and the cast have in store for you.
Or you can stand center if you want. Yeah, stand right there.
Thank you all so
coming. Hugh, thank you so much. It was Loretta's book that got me started on this whole topic. I would take my daughter for walks around the village green in East Hampton and buy the Home Sweet Home garden during lockdown and COVID, and started thinking about all these characters. So thank you to Loretta and to you, Hugh. Thank you. And thank you all for being here. We're going to present an excerpt of the play that is actually kind of, there are scenes that I picked and chose from the whole play. It's a full-length play. But hopefully, anyway, we'll see, hopefully it will play as a complete thing for you tonight. And I just want, as a note, inspired by the book, inspired by the true story, but highly fictionalized. So I took these facts and these names and some of the transcript from the trial and then just like invented from there. So that's important to note, I guess. But yes.
Thanks,
Cheryl.
Lucy. Hi.
And we ended up adding more scenes, and there were more parts, and I am now going to play those parts. So.
I always like to say at these things, we added a scene, at about 5:30 today? Yeah, 5:30, 5:45. So thank you all. Lucy, thank you for writing a play that brings us all together here tonight in beautiful Sac Harbor. The only other thing I think everyone needs to know is cell phones, please. Oh, look, everyone's doing it. That's so, I feel so powerful in this mic. These wonderful actors are going to be playing a lot of roles, so I will do my best at trying to lead you through with some stage directions to tell you who's in each scene, right? We good? Everybody ready? Yeah, have fun. Thank you all for being here. Excerpts from Goody Garlick by Lucy Boyle. First scene, a thatched roof house in the fledgling village of East Hampton, New York, February 1658. We are in the house of one of these colonizers. Elizabeth Howell, 16, is in bed holding her new baby. Her friends, Charity and Honor, sit nearby.
But wait, did Ezekiel bring you the salt pork on purpose when he knew you'd be alone?
Uh-huh. He acted like he had no idea, but of course he knew. Oh, my dad was at church and he'd just come from there. He's on candle duty this week, trimming wigs.
Oh, I know whose wig he'd like to trim.
He's sweet, but I kind of can't with him. He's so awkward.
Like what?
Like, he came in, he put down the salt pork, he sat for 2 minutes, and then he jumped up like the devil would find him if he stayed in a room alone with me.
Well, the devil might have, because Zeke's obsessed with you.
Would you accept him if he made his addresses?
I mean, he has a good-sized allotment of land.
And what, like 2 head of cattle?
3, so that's not nothing.
And isn't he the one who spotted the last 3 leviathans that washed ashore?
Yeah, he's totally the best beached whale man we've got.
His countenance, it pleases you?
He can't really grow a full beard. It's just fuzz, like a little chipmunk snapping under his chin. I want to pet it.
Do you want you-know-who to hear you?
Okay, no, I don't. I was just kidding. I like Zeke because he walks the path of righteousness and also is a total snack.
You're gonna wake the baby.
Sorry, little Beth.
Elizabeth starts coughing.
Some water? Let me ask your girlfriend. Some water?
No, she had to go to Father's today. My mother has been so unwell, she can't spare any of her household at present.
You have no help at all then. I don't know how you're getting on.
Honor goes to look at the baby.
How is she nursing? She latches well?
Not yet.
Well, you can't get with a child again when you're nursing. My cousin in Lyme suckled hers for like 2 years because the good Lord had blessed her husband so bountifully.
Well, at this rate, I'll be lucky if I get 2 months. I can't get her to latch.
Oh, ask good wife Garlic. She brought my sister-in-law this milk thistle tincture when she was having trouble nursing. It helped a lot.
Goody Garlic? Are you kidding me? I wouldn't touch a thing she brought me with a 10-foot pole.
The baby starts crying.
Betty's not a fan.
If Goody Garlick comes around here telling me to put like hyssop on my nipples and that I'm not nursing the right way to support my breasts, they're gonna droop like old flowers when the baby's done with them. Don't let the baby sleep on you or she'll never sleep anywhere else.
She's not the only old crone who whinges on like that. My mother-in-law did when I had Arabella. My milk wasn't coming in, it was driving me crazy. And she goes, why don't you get a wet nurse to suckle her for a bit? Goody Davis, maybe? Back in England, our mothers all used West nurses, and we turned out fine. And I'm like, did you?
If you let Goody Davis, slattern, wife of a convicted masturbator, nurse this baby, she will lap up a lifetime supply of sin in a day.
It's like, if you want to help, hold the baby. Take the baby. I can't do everything you're telling me to do. We're not in England anymore. Stop telling me I'm spoiling my 2-year-old by giving her a doll. It's corn cob in a dress. We're picking the meat off beach whales to survive. I don't have time for this shit.
The baby cries. Elizabeth tries putting her back on the breast. The baby latches.
There she goes.
Always a relief.
The next scene, later that day, Elizabeth tries to nurse the baby, failing, frustrated. A knock on the door. Sam Parsons comes in.
Hey, Sam.
How's it going, Betty? Arthur home?
He's out killing wolves.
Cool.
Did you not hear the beat of the drum?
No. Was I supposed to?
Yeah, the town crier went around yesterday and was like, every man shall go tomorrow if the drum do beat to the swamp to see if the wolves can be killed, and he that absents himself shall pay 4 shillings.
4 whole shillings. Oh, no way. There goes my dream of buying another ewe.
Sorry, my head is aching fiercely. Forgive me. You want to come wait for him?
Sure, thanks. It's super cool.
He comes in.
Oh, can I get you anything? Small beer, Johnny cake?
No, I'm fine. You look like you need to rest. Don't worry about me.
I do have something of a headache just now, and a chill in my bones since this cold snap began.
The baby starts crying. She bounces and shushes her. The baby only gets louder.
They're born so tiny, but their mouths are so big. Loud, I mean.
The baby screams more.
I mean, how is that sound even possible?
She's hungry, that's all. We were in the middle of her dinner.
Oh, right. I'd be like that too if somebody took away my leg of mutton before I was done.
Yes, well, I'll take the mutton back out whenever you head to...
Oh, don't mind me. I'd hate to be the reason for such wretched streaks from Babe.
Fever pitch of infant screams.
If you're sure.
Elizabeth sits and pulls her neckline down far enough to let her baby latch. A shining swath of the top of her breast is exposed. Sam glimpses it.
Cold weather we've been having, huh?
You said that already?
Oh, right. Right. I mean, the ponds are frozen feet deep. Like, the bay's solid out to your dad's island. You can just walk right out there. No sound of waves, no nothing.
It's so strange when the tide's stilled by ice. Like music stopped. Such quiet.
You know, Goodman Vale told me that one of his cows came to calf. He took the heifer forever to get it out. And when the calf at last emerged, it came out frozen.
From the womb?
Well, no. It iced up soon after hitting the cold ground. The birthing fluids and blood just froze over so swiftly. He had to free the babe with an ice pick. He did it just in time, before the nostrils froze over.
She clutches her head in pain. Sam goes to her.
I must needs bind my head with cloth. Oh, feels like a wound.
She goes to fetch a strip of cloth from a wooden box. She wraps it around her head to keep it bound. The baby starts crying.
Oh no, not that sound. Please, my love, shh. Make it stop.
Sam goes to pick up the baby and rocks it, shushing it in his arms. He sings it a lullaby, but it only wails louder.
Oh, I cannot bear it.
The crying or my singing?
Elizabeth's husband, Arthur Howell, comes in.
Sam! Heaven be praised. You are much needed. Here.
He hands him the baby.
How are the wolves?
Oh, Jedediah Miller got one out by Daniel's Hole, but that was all we saw, though many a howl echoed through the trees. I brought it back with us to skin. It's in the yard.
They get so ravenous in deep winter, one of them might try to come and eat the carcass. The smell might draw it here, and then we'd have other problems.
Do wolves really eat their own kind?
You want to find out?
A howl outside. Elizabeth moans again. Arthur goes to her and pats her back.
Love, I'm very ill of my head, and I fear I shall have the fever. Something won't let me find repose.
I'm sorry, babe. Hey, Sam, want a small beer, mead?
A small beer'd be great, thanks.
I'll make two.
Arthur puts the baby in the cradle and goes and takes out a jug.
Betty Bird, any of the mugs clean?
I'm sorry, I've been so wretched I didn't wipe up. Some help need I'm proving to be.
She starts to get up.
Of course, you shouldn't in your condition. I thought your mother's girl was coming over to help.
No, Mother's too ill herself to spare any of her household at present.
I'll send for Goody Simons, then. We can't manage.
He goes to start washing them himself.
You didn't fill the inside bucket with water and the outside bucket froze.
Well, there's water in here.
Arthur spits in the cup and wipes them down. He pours the beer.
You should have something to eat with that. Here, let me go find the Tuesday bread.
She starts to get up with great difficulty and begins to stagger over towards the pantry. She's about to fall, but Arthur catches her. He helps her down. The baby cries. Elizabeth reaches for her and begins nursing.
I'll go, bro. Unless you have need of me.
Oh, I'm afraid we might. If I need to send for any physic in the night, I can if I'm without even her mother's maid.
Elizabeth moans.
Oh, you're burning up.
I'm cold as bone. Lord, have mercy upon me.
The baby starts wailing.
The babe starts wailing when she asks for mercy from the Lord. That does not augur well.
Shh, my love. Shh. All will be well.
Friends, pray for me.
Sam drops to his knees in prayer.
I pray, God, it may not be with me as it was with you when you were at your mother Howell's and quite senseless. I pray, God, I may have my senses.
Elizabeth takes the baby.
My poor child. It pities me more for thee than for myself. For if I be ill, to be sure thou wilt be ill too. Lord, bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face to shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee and be gracious unto thee. Amen.
She finishes nursing and hands the baby to her husband. She clutches her abdomen in pain as if she's been stabbed.
A witch. A witch! Now you are come to torture me because I spoke 2 or 3 words against you. Oh, in the morning you will come fawning.
Blood!
Lord, be merciful to her.
You didn't see how she came to me fawning the day after her husband so sharply.
Betty, who?
There! A witch! A witch!
What do you see?
Look there!
I see only air.
That black thing at the bed's feet. It mews at me. What dreadful mewlings. Get it away from me. Get it away.
It is well if she be not bewitched.
Obviously.
She shoots up to sitting and begins to fight with an invisible presence embodied by the bedsheet. She screams.
Get off me. Get away. Get off.
She goes. She struggles with unexpected strength.
How is it possible? She has the strength of 3 men.
She was too weak to poke the fire before you got home.
Arthur pins her arms to her side. She only struggles harder and screams.
It is a fever that has driven your senses from you. It will lift. All of this will seem a dream.
I wish the devil himself were a dream and only God existed when we woke. But Satan is real, and he walks up and down this world with Goodman Garlick's wife to serve him, and you know it as well as I.
Arthur stands by her in shock. The lights dim. The next scene, 2 days later, in a shabby cottage just down the road. Good wife Elizabeth Garlick wraps herself in a shawl to go out into the cold. Before she can leave, her husband Joshua comes in, locking the door behind him.
Wolf at the door?
Not exactly.
Good, I'm going out.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. I want to condole Mrs. Gardner over the death of her daughter. 16 years old and only days after giving birth. She must be
She
devastated.
thinks you killed her.
Who?
They all did. They think you bewitched her. Elizabeth died screaming you did. The village is alive with it.
Goody Garlick looks out the window.
Come away from the window. Someone will spy your face and ascribe a devious motive, and you're gazing at them. So something evil and untrue. Come away. Everything you do now, everything we do, the smallest things, the neighbors behind us.
They have been for years.
Only you've been softer, more like other good wives, not always speaking your mind.
People are not smart. I should lie and go to hell?
We have to be so careful now. Not just you, all of us. Every step, remember? Or Joshua Jr. takes out in his house every
Me
book.
too?
Well, you're not setting foot off this farm.
I'm supposed to just stay here and let them come on.
Not showing your face in this village, not until we know.
Know what?
Whether the gardeners will start formal proceedings against you.
A trial?
If it comes to that.
If it does, then what?
Then I don't know. They collect evidence if they think it proves you really are
What? I die?
Lord have mercy on us.
On us, on me, on fucking me.
I could lose my life too, my livelihood, if the suspicion spreads.
How will we know? When?
Mr. Baker, Mr. Hand, the magistrates, one of them will come to us. You are not to breathe a word to them without me.
A knock at the door. They look at each other. The next scene, soon after, at the town ordinary, the inn. Depositions are heard. Thomas Baker takes a seat at a table with a ledger in hand. Goody Bishop and Goody Birdsall come tell their tales.
Goodwife Birdsall,
Goody Birdsall steps forward.
Goodwife Bishop,
Bishop steps forward.
If it please you, tell what you know of Goodwife Garlick and her alleged acts of magic.
I recall a time, way back. Tell me if you remember this.
Oh, I sure do.
You don't even know what I'm going to say.
You're going to say Goody Simons, and you're going to say Dockweed.
Okay, yes, I am.
Yeah.
So, we've known each other since before we moved here. We were all living in Lynn in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. Me, Constance, a few others.
And Liz.
Liz Garlick.
Got too crowded in Lynn. Land was getting scarce, so we picked up and landed here. One day, Goody Bishop comes booking it down Main Street, right out there.
I almost ran into her.
Nearly knocked me over. So I said, what the heck? Where's the fire? And she said,
Goody Simon's having her fits.
Goody Simon was having her fits. So she'd hasten to Liz Garlick's. Liz Garlick's for herbs. She's a master of healing and tinctures, or so we thought. But when she got to Goody Simon's
When I got to Goody Simon's house, I reached the dockweed out to her and said, from Goodwife Garlick.
and she recoiled.
In terror. Said she'd have none of them.
She grew agitated.
And she was already in the throes of a fit, so you can imagine an agitation on top of that.
Convulsions, tremors.
It was a lot.
Goodwife Davis was there with her.
Goody Simon said she would have the dockweed burnt, or else she knew not what might follow.
So, Goody Davis threw the dockweed into the fire directly.
And Goody Simon's, pale, said that back in Lynn she was having a similar fit.
Now, what affliction comes upon her in these spells?
Her eyes roll back in her head. She gags, starts to choke on her own tongue. Her visions turns into crystals, diamonds, swirls of light, blocking out what's right in front of her.
An affliction sent by the Lord who moves in mysterious ways.
Well, we hope it's sent by the Lord. It's not impossible. It's courtesy of, you know.
Anyway, I brought the herbs. Goody Davis burnt them,
And Goody Simon said that back in Lynn, when she was having the fits, the same thing happened. Another neighbor had gone to Goody Garlick for herbs for her, and lo, a strange black thing entered the house.
a black cat. And we all know who has a black cat.
Liz Garlick! Liz Garlick has a black cat. Her familiar, no doubt.
The oldest cat in the world, come all the way from Massachusetts with her.
Or from somewhere else. Somewhere much hotter, filled with brimstone and...
I think they get it.
I'm just saying, how has that cat lived so long? There's only one way.
The next scene, the Garlick's farmhouse. Joshua comes in to find Goody getting ready to go out into the cold.
Why are you all wrapped up? Fire not giving enough heat?
No.
You're not planning on leaving this house, I know that.
Sam Parsons is testifying tomorrow. He was there when Elizabeth fell ill and began accusing me.
How? Who told you?
Never you mind. I need to go see Mrs. Parsons. She's always been a friend to me. I helped her with her last birth. She can talk to her son for me, tell him not to speak ill.
She starts to go. Joshua blocks the door.
Are you mad?
You say you can't speak to people on my behalf. Fine, but someone has to.
Goody Parsons could be brought to trial too. Anyone could. Is this what you want for your friends?
He picks up an axe and leaves the house. Goody Garlick starts drinking elderberry wine. Goody Vale comes in the back door.
Liz,
Oh my, you're gonna give me a heart attack.
I came through the pigsty to avoid detection.
I can smell it on you.
Please tell me that's just cranberry juice from last bog harvest.
Bogums up.
Goody Vale coughs a hacking cough.
The guitar's back in your throat. Let me pour you some of my slippery elm infusion.
She goes to take out a bottle of something from the pantry and pours some for her friend.
And how is that pain in your hand? With weather like this, I thought it might ache. I made an arnica salve for you. Was gonna have remember, bring it by later.
That was most kind.
Goody Garlick brings out a jar and they sit.
So, who's the last neighbor to bear witness to my sins?
I do not know all, but certainly Goody Bishop and Goody Birdsall have done.
Bird brain? What evidence could she have?
Did you ever have a disagreement over anything? Something small?
Once she did come to me for pennyroyal to bring on her bleeding. She was with child for the 9th time and did not want to be.
Oh, I doubt she'd tell the magistrates that.
What about Goody Davis? Has she dared?
Not yet, but I don't know she needs to. Everyone knows the story she's been telling about you ever since.
Joshua's keeping me under lock and key. Else I should go there and tell her just what I think.
Please.
Didn't Mr. Gardner say something to your husband about Goody Davis once? After her baby died and she blamed me.
Did he? I can hardly recall. It's been years.
Look, she
since-
made up a tall tale about me when she was distraught, grieving. I understood. But now,
She gets up.
if your husband heard Mr. Gardner refute her gossip then...
He may not remember. And I'm not sure what it'd help if he did. It's Mr. Gardner's daughter who died after all.
Goody Garlic knocks the ash can over.
Oh, sorry,
No, I'll get it. Where's your broom?
I must have left it up in the clouds on my last flight.
Stop it.
Goody Vale pulls out the broom and starts sweeping.
It might be fun to use that old thing to fly, to have any powers, really.
Liz, come on, don't say that.
Well, I can't say anything. Not a word in my own defense. Not a vote for or against the magistrates who'll decide my case. Had to give my husband the wages I earned working for the father of the girl who died accusing me. Why? Same reason I'm thought to be a witch.
Okay, but I mean, I'm a woman too, and no one thinks
They don't right now. You never know. They see you coming here and think this isn't just a neighbor calling on a neighbor, but a witch's Sabbath. And we're just waiting for you-know-who to get the party started.
Well, that's why I picked my way through pig shit to come in the back.
Yeah. If everybody already thinks I've trysted with him, maybe I should try to strike up some kind of deal with him. At least get something out of it.
Yeah, that is definitely not cranberry juice.
No, well, if you were trying to run into him, where would you go? That crossroads where the graves are laid? That seems like the place.
Stop! I won't listen to this, even in jest.
No, I do wonder how he'd appear to me. I bet it'd be like the time I was sea bathing off Mr. Gardner's island when we lived there.
Sea bathing. What is that?
I know people don't do it, but I like it. The salt water softens your skin and keeps it young. You should try it.
Oh, I look so old.
I never said that. You're hearing things, Louisa.
So, you're bobbing around in the sea like a mad woman, and...
And I see a squirrel on the sand, and I think, what are you doing there? And he looks at me in the water, and he thinks, what are you doing there? I bet it would start like that if Satan and I ever crossed paths. he'd lose his bushy tail, rise to his full height, and croon, "Goody Garlick, come tryst with me, and I shall grant you a witch's dominion over this patch of earth."
I'm going to take the ash bucket outside, and when I get back, you stop this talk, or I'm sorry, but I cannot set foot in this house again.
Vale takes the ash bucket out the back door.
Did you know there's a book, The Malleus Maleficarum, written by a couple of Jesuit priests, and it has all these stories in Latin about witches and how they steal men's cocks? They say witches rob the dicks from all the men in a village and keep them in a bird's nest where they wriggle and writhe, and the witch feeds them oats to keep them alive. They're her pets.
What? I can't hear you. The wind is...
And the devil, they say his member is cold as ice. I mean, this is priests making this up. Oh, it is a notion, though. I mean, if sleeping with Satan has to be part of the deal, on a hot day, it might be nice to be cooled from within. Some of those hot nights in August, wouldn't it feel good to put a piece of January's ice right in your...
Close the door. You'll lose the fire's heat.
Goody closes the door and talks to the fire.
And after a roll in the hay, Satan, he'd say, "Now you can harm those who wrong you. You can break the legs of their oxen and make their nursing wives dry up so their babes suck for naught." That's what he'd say. And I would say, I don't want any babes to go hungry, or sows to give birth to 5-hooved pigs, or any of your usual tricks. I wouldn't give you a farthing for that, let alone my immortal soul. You know what I want? I don't want to have to scrub a burnt pot till my hands bleed ever again. I don't want to churn the blasted milk into butter every week, and I don't want to throw out my back hauling water home from Hook Pond to scrub the stains out of my husband's pants. But what about the broom? The devil would cry. Don't you want to feel what it is to fly, bound to the earth as you have always been? Sure, I'd say, bring my broom to life. But I don't want to fly on it. I want it to clean my house all on its own, so I can rest. I am weary of this life.
Goody Vale comes back in as she coughs.
I should go. Benedict will be wondering where I am.
Listen to you. Before you go, you need more of this.
Goody Garlick brings her more of the cough-soothing drink.
Oh, please. It's fine. Drink it. I promise you, I have no interest in getting involved with the fiend, and if he ever shows up and asks me to, I will say so. I have enough problems with these East Hampton people.
You certainly do.
Oh, it's all about them. Believe me, I worked for them. The gardeners. All about them. All about my old mistress's daughter, who didn't like the way I made her tea without a smile.
Those high types always like a smile.
I had nothing against her. She was a brat who couldn't bake a loaf of bread to save her life, but everybody knew that.
Maybe you didn't have to keep teasing her about it.
She can't take a joke, so I should be hanged? I teased her that we'd have to wait till the judgment day for her sourdough to rise. She got all in a huff about it, and the next thing I hear, she's been telling people, I bewitched her bread making. I have so much time on my hands. I'm sitting around colluding with Satan to thwart the rise of her dough. The idea that, if I did have powers, if I could bend the forces of nature to my will, the idea that I would waste that magic on her offends me most. She died from a hard birth. It's plain as day. She had a fever, fits, waking dreams, and in them, for whatever reason, she saw me. You said this baby is big. Coming out of that small girl, she was torn to pieces. She had no healer to help her, no herbs. I certainly wasn't going to bring any over. I knew enough to make myself scarce. That baby ripped her apart, and no one helped put her back together.
It was the same Without my mother on the side of the ocean, I was broken.
My body was broken. Broken open, like those spines of whelk shells you find on the sand, those half-there coils the Montaukett used for wampum. Not just my body, but all of me. My laugh, the way I said my husband's name, was broken, shattered, all in shards. But nestled in that rubble was my baby, my girl. Remember. And I have gotten to watch her grow. Whatever Elizabeth's done to me, she won't get that. She doesn't get that.
Remember, is that a family name? I've always wondered.
People use words as names all the time. Things they're trying to instill in the child. Honor, faith.
Chastity.
I don't care about those things. I care that she remembers.
The tolling of a bell signaling day is done. The next scene, the ordinary. Goody Edwards comes before the magistrates.
I remember it was a week after my daughter had had a baby, a boy, and lo and behold, Goody Garlick comes calling.
Goody Edwards takes off her shawl and pretends it's a baby. Goody Garlick gets up and goes over towards her and knocks as if on a door. Goody Edwards opens it.
Oh, hello, Maria. Charming little boy you have there.
Thank you kindly.
How's the nursing going? Have you let down?
Yes, it's been easy thus far, thank heavens. He's a good boy.
Good. Could I borrow some milk then?
Oh, we don't have our own cow yet. Saving up for one next
Oh,
year.
no, I mean your milk from your own teat.
Oh.
Oh, just a tad. It's so good for healing wounds. Your babe ever gets a scrape, just take out the old nip and squirt. My daughter, remember, she has a wound that won't heal. Pricked her hand on the spindle, and I want to try some breast milk before the rot sets in.
Goody Edwards turns back to the magistrates.
My daughter is kind-hearted. She gave it to her. The very next day, her milk dried up, gone. And that babe near starved. A friend helped nurse the child, and he lived, thank the good Lord. But it all frightened me so. I told Goodwife Davis about it, and she said, "You'll never guess. It happened to her daughter, too. Goody Davis's eldest, her baby sickened after she gave Goody Garlick some milk. But it lived. And Goody Davis said it also happened to Mary Stratton's daughter. But her baby, hers wasn't so lucky.
Goody Garlick walks away.
Died before the week was out."
The magistrate writes notes down furiously.
It sounds as though you have been acquainted with Goodwife Garlick for many years.
Aye.
Did you ever note on Goodwife Garlick's flesh an unusual mark? A bite, perhaps? Or a raised spot? A welt?
A freckle or two, maybe. Nothing more. But I'll have the other good wives. They might well have seen.
Goody Edward goes. The next scene, Garlick's farmhouse. Goody Garlick is asleep in bed. Joshua is awake, sleepless. He brings the candle towards her and examines her face. He crawls under the quilt. After a moment, her head pops up.
Joshua?
Who else would it be?
What are you doing down there?
What would you like me to be doing?
It's been so long, I hardly know.
Another moment, movement below the sheets.
You're poring over me like the pages of your almanac. What's gotten into you? Are you really Joshua Garlick?
What does that mean?
Nothing. Carry on.
She lets herself get lost in it. He touches her all over, paying close attention, and brings the candle close to her.
Look, you're gonna light the bed on fire.
I want to see you.
And I feel shy. Please don't.
We've been married for 25 years. Can't a man look at his wife? Why not?
You might not like what you see.
I see it day in and day out.
No, you don't. You never so much as glance at me when I'm changing, let alone shine a taper up my ass. Are you studying to be the new village midwife?
It's blood. It's my legal right
You're
to touch your...
drunk. I can smell it on you.
He holds the candle towards her again, studying a mole on her breast.
Oh my, you Are you searching me for a mark? To see if I have one, after all. A witch's mark. A bite from my familiar.
Can a man try to please his wife?
Well, you haven't bothered to in years.
I've been tired. I am not tonight.
Yeah, you'd rather go to that hole you cut in the barn.
Shut
Get a
your mouth,
splinter.
evil bitch!
That's right. Say it. Say what you think. Say what they all think. That's what they're gonna put me in the ground for.
I don't know what to think. Forgive me. I didn't really think I'd find anything. I just wanted to be sure. It's true, it has been a while since I...
You used to all the time. We used to all the time.
Yes. Worked to the bone, though we were.
I was young, so young. I was at the peak, the pinnacle. I could make any man in the village laugh or sigh. I could do things. My eyes, the way I walked the cow path, my hair free of plaits, there was something to it. You felt it when you looked at me, when you pinned me against that tree and begged, please, oh, please be my good wife.
I didn't mean to start all this.
How long ago was that? How many years? Years turned into nothing. Years that turned me into nothing. A pile of cinders. Sweep me into the yard and have done. Is that it?
I didn't mean to wake you even.
Can you just go?
It's the dead of night. Where am I supposed...
I don't care. I'm not here. Take a walk. Or...
If the town watch is still out and sees me, they'll think I'm en route to meet the fiend.
Then you'll know how it feels to be suspected of things you've never done.
I'll bed down in the barn.
He leaves. She gets out of bed, wearing the blankets, and pours herself an elderberry wine. She cleans the kitchen. She sweeps. She gets an idea. She holds her broom aloft.
Never to sweep again. Huh? Never to use your bristles for banishing dust from bare floors again. To hold the firm length of your pole in my two hands and mount and ride until the clouds are at my shoulders. To become you, to transcend you, to steal from each of you what you have stolen from me, to annihilate you, to unman you, to unname you, to rob you of your sex, to dominate you, to claim your power as my own, to be free of you, to strip the appearance of you away from the agency of you, and in so doing, destroy both. When a woman thinks alone, she thinks evil. Oh, I think evil. I hope my husband, I hope that woman, I hope the whole town washes away, wipes itself clean, burns itself out. Hey, Satan, Prince of Darkness, are you hearing me?
The candle flickers, then blows out. The next day, the sun rising, Joshua comes in and wakes Goody asleep on the floor.
You never went to bed.
The sound of women's laughter out the window. Goody Garlick goes to the window and sees the women.
Step away from there. Someone will see you.
I hope they see me.
She opens the window and leans out.
I hope you see me!
Joshua rushes over and pulls her back inside, slamming the window down.
That is not the way to win this.
Goody Garlick picks her satchel back up, opens it, and hands him a paper.
No, but this might be.
A lawsuit by Goodwife Garlick against Goodwife Davis for slander. What? No, I am not filing this.
She is the source of nearly every tale about me. She herself has not testified, but everyone who has repeats a story of hers. She's behind this whole thing.
That may be so, but the courts won't accept a suit.
She has slandered me. She's going to get me killed.
Well, but you, as a woman, as a wife, cannot sue anyone. And by the same principle, she cannot be sued.
So then you, on my behalf, could sue Goodman Davis on her behalf.
I doubt it'd be of much use.
She gets up and starts getting dressed.
Where are you going?
To have a chat with a neighbor.
You know you can't go out to Main Street. People will think you're going to meet with the devil.
I am, in female form.
Oh, don't be daft. You'll be convicted for sure if you take her to task yourself.
Then you do it. Do anything. Defend me. Isn't that your duty if I can't defend myself?
It's not my...
You won't, because you think they're right.
He picks the lawsuit papers back up again and considers. The lights go down. The next scene, Goody Davis in her barnyard. She feeds a flock of unseen chickens. Goody Garlick sneaks in behind her and pulls out a handful of oats. She throws it to the flock.
Oh, you. I didn't see you. You felt the need to feed my hens?
I didn't come for eggs, if that's what you're asking.
Goody Davis shivers a bit.
Are you chilled? Here, have my shawl.
Oh, no, no need.
I'm just a neighbor trying to help a neighbor, to help you, as I have done many times.
I have my own shawls and quite enough chicken feed just now, thank you. Save that for your own flock.
I will. Thank you. It can't hurt to have as much chicken feed around as possible in case Joshua loses a set of hands around the farm soon.
Oh, is, remember Garlick getting married? I hadn't heard the happy news.
No, happy news.
She is getting to that age, though, isn't she? Such a bright girl, I'm sure.
I
she'll
meant
do
me.
well.
In case he loses me because I'm hanged.
I was standing in my own barnyard feeding my own hens quietly.
And if you had done things more quietly instead of flapping your mouth about with gossip.
Oh, and you've never uttered a word about anyone in your life?
I've never uttered so many words about someone that the town might execute them, no.
Look, I don't have the emotional bandwidth for this right now. Is that okay?
No, it's not okay.
I mean you no harm. Please do not tell your master.
You do mean me harm, and you know I stopped working for Lion Gardner years ago.
Not Lion Gardner. You know who I mean.
I don't. I have no master now.
I think you do, and he is no ordinary master. Do not make me say his name.
For once and for all, I am not in league with the
Don't say it! Don't say it. I'll call my husband. He is right inside.
Your husband, the convicted masturbator?
Folk, can you come out here, please?
You didn't need him with you to slander me to everyone in the village. You go to the magistrates and tell them that your stories about me are lies.
After what you did to me?
I did nothing.
Well, you did do something, and I'm going to tell you what that was. You know very well what you did. It's cruel to make me say it.
'Tis cruel to make me hang, for I know not what.
My child, Samuel, with your master's help.
I have no master!
You took him in your arms, and in a wink he fell sick.
I know healing. I know sick from not sick. I took the babe in my arms and saw something was wrong with him before you did. To you, that means I made it so?
You coveted him after your miscarriages.
That had nothing to do with what happened.
Then why did you care so much about my pregnancy? You never stopped telling me what to do with my own babies in those years. Don't let Susan get used to being held at night or she'll never sleep without you. Drink this red raspberry leaf tea I brewed you. It'll help your pain in labor.
I searched the island high and low for raspberry bushes for that tea.
Why? Why did you put so much time?
I'm sorry I made it then, if you didn't appreciate it.
Well, that fall I was getting big with child, and that was the last time your monthly courses had stopped. Your hopes were high that you were expecting to.
My last chance.
And then you realized that it was the reverse. It was the change of life starting, the end of your birthing years. I brought you broth. I watched Remember and Joshua Jr. in the final days of my own pregnancy so you could rest.
Why are you telling me this as if I don't know? I do know. Thank you.
The next week, my own baby came. And you didn't want him to live if you couldn't have another of your own.
This is madness. I will not listen to...
You will listen, because I found you out. I realized your curse on me, it had been there for years. Since the time before when I'd gotten with child by accident when Falk was crazed with drink.
And beating you black and blue.
You convinced me I shouldn't have that babe, that I should take those herbs, Savin, Tansy, pennyroyal, those herbs to bring on my bleeding that
You asked for those herbs. You begged me. You didn't want another bairn there to watch him beat you until
It was your idea first. You put it in my mind. You led me to it. It was a sin.
That you hadn't reached the quickening yet, not even close. So no, it was not a sin. No one knew.
God knew. God knew what you did. And then I never bore a babe that lived after that. He was punishing me.
If you really think that, then why did you remain friends with me? For years after
I didn't want any more children to die.
I have no powers. I'm a plain person.
Goody Davis breaks away and goes inside. Goody Garlick lingers a moment and leaves as darkness falls. Coda, Elizabeth Howell, or her ghost, sits perched on a rock.
The fog rolled in just as I alighted here. It was full sun in town by the pond where I lay, across from what was my house. And as I came down towards the bay, the fog started in, hanging between the tops of trees like linen blowing on a line. She didn't mean it. She didn't really mean to kill me, I don't think, Elizabeth Garlick. Now I don't think it, at least. Even if she hated me, even if she resented all I had, all I couldn't help but be born with. Really, probably every woman with nothing but a husband she loathes longs to be a witch, to harm the haves if you have not. Still, it didn't have to be this way. I didn't have to die at 16, my baby a few days old. But if it is this way, at least I'm here. A rock in Gardiner's Bay. Our bay. On a not quite spring day of fog and sun.
A train whistle blows.
And I'll be here. I'll be here waiting for God or whatever thinks it's God to make up its mind about me. I'll be here when no howls echo through the northwest woods, when every last she-wolf and her pups have been killed. I'll be here when the sundial in my father's garden gives way to the clock on the tower of the new town church that my daughter will live to see. I'll be here when the people stop going to sleep when the chickens do in winter, when they stay up with a kerosene lamp to match the meaningless markings on the face of a clock. I'll be here when the train comes, when the iron horse comes, when the Porsche and the Benz and the Tesla come, bearing rapists and pillagers from the Isle of Manhattan hence. I'll be here when you won't be able to dig up a single sweet scallop out of the bay in winter to save your life. So sadly will our sons and daughters wither this land. But then, in truth, by then, if I'd been living then, I wouldn't have died. I wouldn't have had to die like this. She wouldn't have had to be a witch. The midwife would have known to wash her hands.
She turns out towards the water and disappears. The end. I don't know what to do now. What are we doing now? Gave you your good cue. That was a good answer.
We have a few more minutes left of the program. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask or like to talk about past?
Question.
How did you choose to modify the language the way you did?
I don't know that I chose to. It just was like how I started to hear it. And the first thing that I wrote was the longer monologue, or it was the scene, the like Goody Garlick, Goody Veil scene, when she talks about like, well, you know, maybe I should call up the devil. And that was when I sort of keyed into her voice. And then when I went back, I think I was just trying to get a sense of what, like, if you were teens, if you're like, you know, 16, you just had a baby, you're like one of the, I don't know, you're in this like world of elite 1650 East Hampton. I just wanted to like feel what that would be, and using, you know, anachronistic language felt like a quicker way in, and I guess I'm also hoping that will be funny, but yes, I think, yeah, anyway, so yes, just trying to get us right into it. So, hope.
As you dug into this a little more, what was the most interesting thing you found out personally about Goody Garlick?
Well, I mean, what I found out, and what, you know, Loretta's book sparked, and was just, I mean, first of all, there's so many witchcraft cases in America. It's not just like everyone only thinks about Salem, but there's many. And what I was drawn to in this case was just how many of the complaints, how many of the accusations were centered around motherhood, birth, childbirth, and sort of like these moments of parenting together in a very close-knit community, which I was writing parts of it during like COVID, you know, having like a toddler in preschool during the first year of COVID, and you're like only socializing with these few women, play dates, and like every choice is so constant. I don't know, it feels like there's so many neuroses and anxieties about parenthood and motherhood woven into the things that she was accused of. So that was, yeah, like the breast milk thing it was actually like multiple women who, well, I guess we say that, but in the longer play, I'm imagining you would see several scenes of people doing that, but just, you know, that it was a thing that you would go borrow breast milk from another woman, like those parts of it fascinated